What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corey Sylvester Murray, and we're talking about generational wealth, mental health, finance, and business.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
And before we introduce today's guest, my brother Eric from Huntsville, aka Hunts Vegas, Alabama. Who do you have for our Black Men Sunday spotlight, my brother?
Hey, Corey. Hey, thanks for that introduction, man. Today, we recognize a brother here. This is no other than Mr. Vernier W. Tandy Sr. What's special about this brother? Chandler was actually the first Black African architect registered in New York State. He is also one of the founders of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated at Cornell University in 1906. But his most famous commission was the Villa Lororo Mansion, which was the mansion of Madam C.J. Walker, who was, of course, the first Black female self-made millionaire in the United States. Now, Tandy gained an understanding of construction while watching his father build and develop homes in Lexington, Kentucky. These early experiences with his father led Tandy to an interest in architecture. Now, in 1904, Tandy attended Tuskegee Institute at the time, is Tuskegee University now, to study architecture and study his short stay, and he was under the influence of Booker T. Washington. Now, Tandy became an architectural program prize student at a year later. So in September 1905, he transferred to Cornell, which he, Tandy, Callis, and some other small group of college collegiate men formed Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity in the spring of '06, which would soon become the first African American Greek letter fraternity on December 4th of the same year. So during this time of the fraternity, he was the treasurer and he designed the pen and eventually was responsible for the incorporation of it. Other good facts about Tandy, he also was later became the first African American to pass the military commissioning examination in World War One. He was subsequently commissioned as first lieutenant in the 15th Infantry of the New York State National Guard. Tandy died on November 7th of 1949. That's my spotlight for today, Mr. Vernier Tandy. Now, Corey, back to you.
Great spotlight. You always get somebody with some type of Alabama background. I noticed that.
Well, hey, Alabama's a fabulous state, man. You got to recognize the state, so of course.
Definitely, man. And real quick before I let you go, man, how's that newlywed life working for you, bro? You looking all revitalized, looking like you done had a couple facials. I see you done got your hair cut, got your beard cut. You looking fresh, bro.
Man, I make it do what it do, baby. That's what married life would do to you.
I love it, my brother. I appreciate that
Yeah,
spotlight, man.
they appreciate you.
Definitely. All right, let's go on to introduce today's guest. We're talking to the celebrity credit guru. This brother here. We're going to talk about that black card life. We're going to talk about you've been approved. We're going to talk about debt free is the new rich. This brother here helps A-list celebrities get their credit in order when we're talking about if they want to buy that $1 million Lamborghini, that $5 million house. I'm still perplexed that celebrities making that money have lower credit scores than I do. I said, really? So without further ado, James Hunt, welcome to Black Men Sundays, brother. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. Pleased to be here.
When I look at your resume, I see, because I said you help A-list celebrities. We're talking about Will Smith, Usher, Akon, Taraji P. Henson, Tashina Arnold, Tank, boxing champ Devin Haney. You're also an author. That's why I started with that Black Card Life. You're the author of that book. Debt Free is the New Rich. You're the author of that book. You have been approved. You're the author of that book. The Celebrity Credit Guru. So I'm coming out the gates. I want to take it back. You from Chicago, Illinois. You're in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to know, how did you get in the credit game? Like, what was your background to even get in the game before you even had celebrities?
So it was kind of like accidental getting into it. I studied credit and studied the law as it related to credit, the Fair Isaac law. I studied the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act for many years. I was just like my close knit friends and family members. I took care of all of their issues. And once we started getting to a certain level, I started taking on different clients and never expected to get to the celebrity clients. And once it started, it has just blew up.
Yeah, because when I did some research on you, I said celebrities stop by your office when they want to make a big purchase. So that leads to my next question. When we talk about debt free is the new rich, when we look at celebrities, you see, especially basketball players, NFL players, sports players, they retire and they try to still live that $100 million contract, but they're retired now. And then in 3 years, they're broke. So, what services do you provide so that doesn't happen to them?
So it's even from the beginning, just like right after the NFL draft, all of the agents started calling me regarding their new players, with getting them in order financially. So you really have to start now to make sure that you educate them, to make sure that you handle their issues. Most people would be surprised to know that celebrities are more apt to have bad credit than an average person because of their lifestyle. And so if you spend this amount of time on the road, and you spend this amount of time being off away from your home and everything else, you're not collecting your mail from the post, from the out of the mailbox, concerning your credit issues, it's easy to lose sight on it. And so they're more apt to actually miss bills, start making late payments. And my job is to get all of their issues handled, to address everything negative in their credit reports, and to help them to get the new home, the new cars, the new building the credit, starting a new business. Everything that relates to credit is my job to clean all of that up and make that happen for them.
Definitely. And I was just, looking at your Instagram page and I said, okay, not only are you a credit guru, but I see you have some good fashion sense. I see pictures of your houses. I'm like, man, this brother here, wow, this man has some taste. So let's just talk about how multifaceted you are as a black man.
Well, I've always, when I was in high school, I designed my own graduation suit, jumpsuit. I was in the fashion show for that, and so I've always been like this thing, having this thing for fashion. Um, and now it's just over the top. I get invited to the Grammys. I get invited to the Oscars. I get invited to all the different red carpet events. And so you want to have something on that will leave everybody talking about you on Monday. So when it comes to fashion, uh, I tend to be way out there.
Definitely. And also you kind of left one tidbit out. You sit courtside at NBA games. You kind of left that out.
Yeah, so it sort of like comes with. I mean, if you represent the players, at some point I had a at least one player on every team, and so there are some fringe benefits that come with that. Not just simply the players, but coaches, agents, all of them are clients, and so when you have that sort of influence with them, you can get what you want done.
Definitely. And when we talk about credit gurus, I've had a few on the show, but we don't see a lot of brothers in that space. Like we may see people, sign up with me, we can fix your credit. If you have bad credit, you have credit card debt. What makes the celebrities comfortable to say, hey, James, I want you to represent me?
Your ability to make it happen. If you fail to make something happen, the word will spread even faster that you can't make it happen. So the celebrity world is kind of small in the sense that all the NBA players know all the rappers know all the NFL players, know all the actors, and so on. Everybody knows everyone, and celebrities tend to pass you around their circles, And so if you're good at doing what you do, everybody will pass you around and everybody will go after you. A lot of the agents that I'm getting from the NFL, many of which for their new drafts, I didn't even know who they were. Nor and most people would be surprised. I don't even like sports. So if you see me on the court side, that means that I'm there to network. I'm there to get new clients. So I could care less about what's going on the court. I'm interested in snatching up new clients.
And I want to take it back again. I feel like I'm giving too much early because I read an article on you and it said that you battled homelessness. So let's talk about that because I mean homelessness to you're a celebrity guru, man. Let's talk about that because I feel like that gets overshadowed so much.
Yeah, so it was about 11 years ago. I had lost everything, walked away from a bad relationship, left everything behind, and was determined to just simply start over. And I started with building this business and started in Starbucks and set up a table in Starbucks. I would get there at 5 a.m. in the morning and sit in Starbucks with my little cheap laptop and flip phone and handle client issues, talk loud enough so that people around me would hear me and customers would hear me talking. And I was smart enough to do it in the most exclusive areas. So it drew me, it started to draw clients, and the rest is history. I started to get celebrity clients even while I was in Starbucks. So it just came, it just shows that if you really want something and if you have and you're willing to work your butt out to get it, you can make anything happen. The possibilities for success are basically endless.
That's great information because you know when I talk to a lot of new entrepreneurs, they say I want to work from 9 a.m. I want to be done by noon. I want to have a picnic with my family, and I want to do whatever I want to do the rest of the day and still make the money. So let's talk about that from your point of view. Is that realistic?
It is completely unrealistic. My philosophy is that if I'm on my feet, I'm working, and that's 7 days a week. It basically encompasses about 16 hours a day. And if it is the right person, you can wake me up in my sleep, and that happens several times a week. And I will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and handle whatever issues they have. So I have a mini office in my bedroom with the desk, computers, and everything else. And I've been known to jump up in the middle of the night and handle paperwork, depending on who that client is. So you literally have to be available. It's almost how bad do you want it? So if there is a time clock, if you're trying to check in and check out, then I would say that you're probably not going to be a successful entrepreneur. If you're serious about your craft and you're serious about the clientele that you're trying to attract, then there is a work ethic that goes with that, that is demanding. And once you sign up for that, you got to be willing to handle it. And that means also, it's like Devin called me a couple of days before the fight and said, I need you in Vegas. And that means that everything stopped, everything shifted. Several employees grabbed certain ones that are going with me were off to Vegas. And so that almost happens about once a week where I'm jumping on a plane going somewhere. Usually it details a celebrity client.
Definitely. And you saying Devin as in Devin Haney. You know, you got to say the last name on it. I know you famous, but you know, my listeners like Devin, who's Devin? Devin Haney, boxing champ. Let's talk about him for a little bit because when I was doing my research on you, you know, he was trying to buy a $5 million house, but he called on you to get his credit right to buy that. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, actually, he has the $5 million house. So that was the house. So when I first got Devin, Akon sent me India Love. India Love was dating Devin Haney. We got India Love's credit up to about an 803. She was just above the 800 credit score. And then Devin all of a sudden became interested. His scores was in the low 400s when I got him. And we got him up into the 800s as well. And it took us a while to get him up into that. He had been renting a mansion for a few years and could not get it and could not buy cars, could not buy unless he was going to pay cash. So the connection again is about the connections with the celebrities passing you on to different people. But eventually we got his credit up into the 800s. He was able to buy the house in Vegas in Hendersonville, in Henderson, and for $5 million. Now he's preparing to buy one in LA for $11 million. And we're working on that because some other issues came up that he needed me to work on, and that was the urgency of going to Vegas.
Definitely. And that's great information because when we talk about like one thing I did research on you, I understand that there's clients that you have that I didn't mention where they can, their name, they can just go pay with cash. But when we talk about leveraging credit, when you're talking about these celebrities, they have this money. What's so important about using their credit versus just paying cash for it?
Because you want to leverage it and you want to make sure that you have, even Jay-Z did not, and Beyonce did not furnish that, did not pay cash for that $200 million home in Beverly Hills. So it's, you're going to finance it so that your money can work for you in other areas. Why put that big lump sum down? And most people are surprised that celebrities are not as liquid as you think. And I have celebrity clients that are almost financially broke. And so it's sort of like handling their credit issues and handling some finance issues is almost like pulling them up out of the mud. So in rebirthing a career, they also bring in people like me to pull them up out of whatever pit they fell into financially.
Definitely. And you're the celebrity credit guru. So if someone comes to you, a celebrity comes to you and they have a bad credit score, how long does it take under your advisement for them to get higher scores? Is it like a couple years, a couple of months? Like how long does it take to really get your scores to where you need to be to purchase what you want?
So obviously no two clients are identical. Each one has some different issues. Celebrities usually have really crazy issues. I have celebrities that have on a regular client may have a charged off American Express with a $5,000 limit that went into charge off status, which is basically simple to get it, but 5,000. But people like Akon had 7 figures on the American Express Black Card that needed to be removed. And so you're handling those kind of issues that are way crazy. It's foreclosed mansions, it's repossessed Bentleys and Rolls Royces and all of that, and all trying to put them back on. You have a player who gets kicked off of a team in the NBA. He loses everything. He gets 5 or 6 cars repossessed, and then you clean everything up, get all the repos off, get everything else off of him, and then it's about rebuilding him. And he just got signed with the Lakers, and so now you're taking him and rebuilding him, and then helping him to get 5 more new cars, and having those cars shipped to LA and everything else. It's always something crazy. The person that I'm talking about right now, I'm going to Miami this week to handle some issues for him. So it's always something. It's always something major for them, and you have to like make them so important that you are handling whatever their issues are and making sure that they don't have to worry about anything. You just simply make everything happen.
Great information. Great information. I'm loving this conversation. And, I kind of want to use some of your book titles for my next question. You have been approved. That Black Card Life. I have an American Express card, but the problem I have with that card, when I want to use it, they said we don't take it. I'm like, why not? The fees are too high. We don't take that. But you have a black card, and from my understanding, I don't have a black card, but I have the blue. I'm doing pretty good. I'm not complaining. But I'm just saying mine, I can barely use it because no one takes it. So, when we think about American Express, it's a celebrity. It looks great. Ladies, oh, I have the American Express, but what advantages are you given if no one takes it?
Well, so it's the kind of card that you want to have, because, for example, Devin purchased a $400,000 watch a couple of months ago, and he needed that American Express Black card in order to get that. And so, and he purchased multiple other things at the same time, well, in that same time space, and it was like about a $650,000 month on of spending. So, but that is due on its due date the next month, and so you got to pay all of that off in full, which is why American Express Black Card is a really good card to have for those kind of celebrity clients. Most of my new or established NBA players and NFL players, a lot of the music industry people, all come to me, and my job is to build their credit up and to walk them through the status of getting how to get the invitation, because it's not an application that you can fill in. You got to actually be invited to become a Black Card member, and my job is to get that and to make them qualified so that they do receive that invitation. And that includes spending $250,000 in one calendar year, and then maintaining spending $250,000 per calendar year in order to keep it.
Yeah, I just had to get that in because I was curious about that. And also, lastly, debt free is the new rich. Let's talk
I,
about that a little bit.
I had an argument in the middle of the night with Flocka, and Flocka was telling me how rich he was. And this was before, this is not the new and improved Flocka that you can see right now. This was years ago, and about 7 or 8 years ago. And I was arguing because his credit report was on my desk, but he never did anything. He didn't push forward with it to get everything done. And he kept telling me how rich he was. And so I yelled out, in this heated debate, well, debt free is the new rich. So I'm rich is not necessarily going to be determined by how many digits are in your bank account, but rich is going to be determined by how high your credit score is and whether you're able to maintain and keep your credit and all of your finances paid in full. And when I blurted that out in a heated exchange, he stopped everything that he was doing. The line went silent. He said, "I'm coming to see you right now." And I was like almost like nervous, had to like play over in my mind, like, what did I say? What, how did I say it? Because he just, that was it. And he came to see me. Turns out he pulls up by himself in the middle of the night. This was around midnight. And he brings an assistant with him, and we take care of all of his credit issues. And that was the beginning of the success for both him and for Tammy, with getting their credit in order and buying that new house, that dream house that they wanted.
Oh man, you out here name dropping. Okay, I see you. And let's talk
I
about.
have, I have about 500 celebrity clients, so it's when often people ask me about the celebrity clients, I said the shorter list is the ones who are not clients. So it's a lot.
Yeah, no, that's great information. And with the clients that you deal with, we on our show, Black Men Centers, we talk about rich versus wealthy. What's the difference? You deal with a lot of rich clients, you deal with wealthy clients. What's the difference?
I think the difference is knowing what to do with money. You can have money and not know what to do with it, and spend it recklessly. I know artists who are successful only when a new album is released. And you see them as they, once an album is out, then they're living a rich lifestyle. And then if they don't produce an album in a year or two, they go all the way back down. And they're never really mastering being wealthy. Wealthy is actually taking that money and investing right, so that after the NBA and after the NFL, when the career is over with, you have something to actually look forward to. And mind you, I have NFL players who have worked for me for years. So they were clients of mine when they were in the NFL. Once they got out, people like Laquan Williams, a two-time Super Bowl winner, he worked for me for about 3 years after the Super Bowl in my office. So a lot of people don't know what to do after they get out of the NBA and don't really have a clue of what to do and how to do it. And so I took him under my wing and taught him a lot of what I did, but I put him on payroll, and it really worked out. He was a good employee.
And I have one more question for you, then I'm gonna let my brothers engage you. This question is, a lot of brothers that listen to our show are new entrepreneurs, new business owners, establishing business credit. But a lot of them tell me, when I go apply for a credit card under my business, they're asking for my personal social. So what's the difference between personal credit and business credit? And do you have to give your social from your personal to establish business credit?
Yes. So if you have not already established your business credit, and your business credit score, which is your paydex score, is not high enough, then the banks and the other financial institutions will require that you use yourself as a personal guarantor for your business, meaning that they're going to look at your credit report and how you pay your personal bills, and that is an indication on how you will pay the company's bills. And they will approve you off of your personal credit score rather than your paydex score, until you build up enough credit under your paydex score to be able to individually separate your personal from your business. It's actually a good thing to have, because if you don't have it, you need to establish it. So establishing it is first showing them how I pay my bills in my regular with my personal, and that is a good indication for how I'm going to pay it for my business, and I can be approved for both personal and business using myself as a personal guarantor.
Great. And what's the best way to build business credit? That way you can separate from your personal.
So the paydex score system, which is with Dun and Bradstreet, requires that you have 4 or more positive accounts that are being reported to Dun and Bradstreet in order to begin to build it. So if you have 3 accounts that's listed that are business accounts, you're not even building anything yet until you at least get 4. And the goal is to build it up to an 80. The paydex score goes from 1 to 100. An 80 to 90 is considered good business credit, and a 90 to 100 is considered excellent business credit. So you want to be able to build your credit up, business credit up to that 90 range and above, so that you can get be approved for anything that you apply for.
Right. So this is Ray Simmons out of Rockledge, Florida. I got just a few quick questions for you, Mr. Hunt. So upon my credit journey, I went down the rabbit hole after a bad marriage that led to an awful credit score due to multiple joint accounts, such and such, that didn't get paid. So long story short, I started my journey a couple of years ago on repairing credit. And by going down that rabbit hole, I found a lot of things out that I was unaware of. and maybe you can vouch for me on this, but initially I thought it was just the big three, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. I didn't realize there were like a lot more companies like CoreLogic and SageStream and NexusLexis, and there's a plethora of other agencies that collect this information on us, that supply that information to the big three. So I was just wondering if you could first talk about that, and is there anything that we should be doing to improve those scores? I guess since that's where a lot of the big three are getting a lot of their information from.
Yeah, so the first step would be there are the secondary agencies that do report information to the credit reporting agencies. Credit reporting agencies use them as verification sources for negative and positive information that is being reported on you. However, you should be aware of whoever is reporting, not just Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, but whoever is reporting something on you, to be able to know that it's correct, and how it's being reported, and whether it can be successfully challenged. Because what most people are surprised to find out is that information that's being reported on you, if you push the envelope and had someone to make the right arguments for you, even things that you are responsible for can be removed off of your credit report. You could literally be sitting completely in a whole completely different scenario. A person with poor credit right now could have good credit next month this time. And so you have to be aware of it. You have to go aggressively, have someone, if you don't know, to go to those secondary agencies, opt out of all of them so that they can no longer report anything regarding you, challenge what needs to be challenged, and then challenge it back with the credit reporting agencies once you have opted out. And for example, with LexisNexis, if there was an eviction that you are responsible for, you can still go to LexisNexis and opt out so that they can no longer report that information. And even though you had the eviction, that eviction will no longer be able, the Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion can no longer report it, nor can they verify it if it was in your credit report before, because you have opted out and you have had that information suppressed. And so there are all kinds of ways and all kinds of laws that are written in favor of the consumer, that if the consumers were educated on, it would allow them to actually, what you're living with today, you really don't have to live with. If you knew someone who could actually make the right arguments for you, it can change your financial situation.
Perfect. Thank you. And I didn't realize, honestly, there was an option to opt out. The way I went about doing it, I'll be completely transparent with everybody listening, you included. But I found a YouTube so-called guru, and the suggestion was to freeze your reports from all of those third-party companies before you attempted to challenge or dispute any of the accurate or inaccurate information on your report. So I tried it, right? And it could have been a coincidence, but at least for me, a lot of things that were on my credit negative were removed. And I don't know, like you said, if it was because that the agencies couldn't verify it any fast enough, because I was armed with the information that I knew that the big three have 30 days to respond to any disputes.
Yes.
And if they can't prove that those are yours by law, they have to remove anything on your report. So at least for me, Equifax was the first one. Maybe 10, 11, 12 accounts like dropped off immediately. Credit score shot up 100 plus points. I couldn't even believe it. TransUnion and Equifax, they didn't really, I'm sorry, TransUnion and the other company, they were a little bit slow. So I had to keep going with them. And I was, I sent certified letters with my disputes to make sure that someone with a physical person would have to open those or sign for those to get them. I don't know if a lot of this stuff had any impact on how it worked or not, but can you provide any other clarity, I guess, on from the dispute standpoint on there's a lot of misinformation out there. So is it better to get a lawyer or somebody, you know, like yourself versus the consumer trying to do all of this on their own? Because I like I said, for me, it was a long multi-step journey, but I did get to my destination. However, I just wonder if there was an easier way that I could have done it in the process.
So no one knows exactly because we don't know the details of your disputes and how it was argued. So it could be that you're just smart and you got it off. And but I think that you can't really see them as Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You got to see it as it was because they have thousands of people who work for them who process those disputes. So it wasn't that Experian and TransUnion didn't do something. It was just the person who got your disputes, who was assigned to your disputes at Experian and TransUnion, didn't do it. And so take the company out of the picture and see it as if I don't get the result that I wanted, and the only outcome that is acceptable is a deletion on these negative issues, then I fight it until I get the outcome that I want, or I fight it until my disputes land on the right person's desk and they will get it off. But yeah, you did a lot of things right with the sending it certified mail. Don't give them an opportunity to say that they didn't receive it. So you know exactly when they received it and who signed for it at each credit reporting agency. That's a lot of good information. But probably if you had the right person making the right argument, you could have probably gotten it off of the other two faster, but who knows?
Right. I appreciate you answering that question. This is the last question I got. Oh, go ahead.
It's always good to have an expert to actually help you with it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And my last question, just my last one, I'll let the other fellas, you know, ask some questions. But can you talk anything about this eOscar system that supposedly gets used instead of the representatives, like you were saying, they got thousands of employees that handle these. But I also heard that a lot of them, they have some, honestly, I don't even know what eOscar system is. I know it exists, and I heard that it's a method that they use to kind of put the work on autopilot, so to speak. But can you speak on that at all?
Yes. So the eOscar system is a computer generated system that each of the credit reporting agencies have to be able to pinpoint cookie cutter type disputes, because they have so many different websites that are selling cookie cutter disputes for consumers. What the eOscar system does is identify them, and your disputes are more authentic if you're actually having someone to actually write them so that every dispute looks completely different. You have included the law, you have made the right arguments and everything else, and it's the way that it's structured. But even a structured dispute, if that style of it has been used too many times, you can have the eOscar system to kick that out to say, this is, we perceive that this is a dispute that has been, or you have gained help from a credit repair company or a lawyer or someone else in doing this dispute. It doesn't mean that they won't handle your issues. It just means that they won't take it as serious as if they would have thought your dispute was authentically from you.
Understood.
So you got to know that when the people who are writing them have to know how to actually write them so that your dispute doesn't look like anybody else's.
Understood. Using the correct verbiage. All right. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you answering those questions for me.
You're welcome.
Hey, this is Kalali Dogbe, and I'm living in Maryland currently. Got a couple questions for you. First of all, definitely appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us.
Yes, sir.
First question I got is, I guess it's just more of a general question about like credit and credit management. Like, do you view credit like, first of all, like what is credit? Because sometimes it can seem like credit is just like this imaginary thing that's floating out there in the ether. So do you view credit management as like a game, or do you believe that like your credit status actually reflects anything about how you manage your finances or your responsibilities, or is it just kind of like a game that you either know how to play or you don't know how to play?
I don't consider it a game at all
Okay.
because it is almost a financial resume
Okay.
concerning you, and that when you want something from another company and you want a company to trust you with their money that they're lending you, or products that they're lending you and trusting you to pay back, they have to be able to know something about you when and what your risk factor is in paying it back. So your credit score is a risk score. It tells the higher your credit score is, the lower the risk is that you will not default on it. The lower your credit score is, the higher likelihood that you will actually default on it and not pay it back. But your credit report, so sometimes we look at our credit report and we just kind of like scan through it. Creditors look at your credit report and they're looking at everything that's being reported about you. So if Capital One told them that, yeah, we gave him this amount of money in a loan, he paid on time from this period to this period, and then he made a late payment here. He got back on track. He then paid a couple of on-time payments. Then he made another late payment here, and then he made the late payment went from a 30-day late to a 60-day late to a 90-day late, and then he came back and made a payment. They're giving them a whole painting a complete picture of how you handle your finances. And for the new creditors, they're looking at that and saying, "Nah, we don't want to go through that. We're not about to give him our credit card. If you did that to Capital One, yeah, we're not Wells Fargo. We're not giving you that our credit card because we see how you did it." And so, what credit repair does for you is it comes in and cleans up the mess that you may have made with your credit, cleaning it up in such a way that when new creditors see, and the only time you should ever be applying for something is first you should know that you qualify for it before you apply for it. But once you apply for it, the only thing that a new creditor should know about you is that you pay all of your bills on time, all the time, and that you have never had anything negative in your credit report. And if you cannot say that, then you should not be applying for anything. That means that you need to sit down with the right person who can clean that mess up. And whatever you made, the mess that you made, or what the misconception that people have is that whatever mess I made, I have to live with. But you don't. You just need the right person to make the right arguments to get clean up the mess and then to position you back in the right position so that you can go back and apply to new creditors and be able to get what you need to get.
I like that. You said you got to clean up. So you made a mess. You got to clean up your mess. Yeah.
And so the mess has to be cleaned up, or you're going to be living with the mess.
Right.
And I heard someone say something about if you sit in something long enough, it no longer stinks. And so my point is that is to get, especially our people, that we have almost become immune to the smell of bad credit. We have sat in it for so long that we have gotten used to it, and that we can even joke about it and joke about how low our credit score is and laugh about it when it's really sad, because if you knew the tools that were available to you, you could actually be living a far better financially successful lifestyle, just simply knowing the tools that are available to you to pull yourself up out of that. scenario.
That's very interesting. Another gem that I pulled out of what you said is don't apply for anything on credit unless you know you're gonna qualify beforehand. You're gonna
Yes,
qualify for it beforehand. So,
that,
you know,
that means that means not going into the dealership, no matter how much you're looking at the new Tesla truck or anything else, or any other car. You've got to know that you qualify for that beforehand, and knowing that you qualified for it beforehand means that I'm not going in. If I go into that dealership, I'm going in just to look and to motivate myself while I'm cleaning up my mess. I'm gonna motivate myself. But when I come in here and sit down at a desk, I'm sitting down at a desk because I'm getting the keys and I'm rolling up out of here.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So we talked earlier about, you going to the games, and you say you don't really involve yourself in sports. You're just more concerned about networking when you get there. So can you talk to us a little bit about how important networking is just in building a business or in any life endeavor for that matter?
Yeah, because, for example, if you go into the game, I got clients that are on that team. So that means not just simply sitting in the paint and sitting on the floor, but I need to be in the locker room. I need to be there before the game even starts, while they're practicing and getting warmed up, long before they even let regular people in to the game. Those are the times to actually make those kind of connections that you need to make, because once you get one person on a team as a client, you basically get everybody else. When I had Mike Beasley with the Lakers, he ended up giving me some of everybody from Ball to Anthony Davis to everybody. Just you have the right people on there. I used to go to practice with him, so it's like I'm flying to LA. I'm not just going to be sitting here. I'm going to practice. You going to practice? I'm going to practice. So because it's a perfect opportunity when there's no other or regular people around to coming in to see the game, this is a perfect time to actually sit down and have a real conversation with the other players about what can happen and what they need. And trust me, about the majority of them, I would say about 80% of NBA players have bad credit or have something that they need cleaned up on their credit report.
Wow, wow. So is it just
I approach every player as needing my services. And when you know what you bring to the table, you can be super arrogant about how you approach that, because you need to know who I am, not I need to know who you are.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So with the athletes, is it just that they just haven't had that background in finances to know, about how to manage credit? Is that why is that why so many of them? I mean, a lot of us out here in the world just, that aren't celebrities have problems with credit. So is it just the same situations and they just, unfortunately have access to a whole lot more money, so they get in a whole lot more trouble, or what's the situation? Why do so many of them have such credit issues?
Because they most of the athletes come out of college with bad credit.
Okay.
So colleges, like whether you're an athlete or not, they push credit onto
That's
students,
right.
and they can go and know that you can apply. You don't have to have a job. You can get this Capital One student card. You can get this Wells Fargo or Bank of America student card. You can get the American Express student card. All of these cards are pushed onto them. They get them. Many of them are struggling, don't have a job, or do have a job but still struggling, and it's their first time, and they mismanage that credit if they do not have someone around them teaching them. And so they're all of a sudden, now you're in the pros and you are a professional, but you bring the baggage of your credit issues with you. Hence why the agents and everything else understand now the importance of bringing people in like me, because even with these new draft picks that are being sent to me just recently, they can't buy homes and they can't buy cars. They got the money. They just signed a deal. They got money, but they can't buy it if unless they're going to pay cash. They can't finance it.
Got you.
So they need to be able to finance that.
Yeah.
And so if they're going to finance it, they got to get the credit in order. And this is long term. So this is not just about, and the NBA, in 2015-16 season in the NBA, I was an employee of the NBA. Working, I had to sit down and do a 3-hour meeting, meeting with all of the players all at one time, and it was mandatory. And the NBA makes it mandatory that their players have conversations with people like me that will answer all of their questions, like we're doing, about credit and everything else. At that point, I think there was 492 players for the whole that season. I knew every player. So, but the NBA knew that it's important for them, because if you can't function financially off the court, it affects how you play on the court.
Sure.
So you're getting the players. When Quinn Cook came to Atlanta and signed and was a rookie, but Quinn Cook needed me as soon as he got here to Atlanta. Okay. And it was about setting him all up. As soon as we got him set up, all of his handlers was just like, you need to know this person will make this happen, this person will make this happen. And I have like what I call a cabinet of professionals, which means that I have real estate agents, underwriters, financial, the loan officers at every major bank, finance managers at all the dealerships. I know everybody. And that is my team of people. So if you come to me and you need something, then I'm going to make that happen for you. And I know all of the people to make it happen. Send me a copy of the credit report. I will tell you what you qualify for, and then I will make, and if you don't qualify for it, because we got NBA players who, if we know that they just signed this multi-million-dollar deal, it doesn't really matter what their credit is, because the bank is still going to give them the money because of how much money they're making. They just want a copy of your deal with the NBA and with your team and how much you're making, and they will override your credit issues, knowing that I'm coming behind it to clean it up. So you got to have those kind of conversations. The player couldn't go in and have that conversation himself.
Right.
They need me to actually go in and actually do all of that kind of stuff. I do it, and then make sure that when the client comes, he's not coming to BMW or Range Rover or anything else and sitting in some little small office with some salesmen. Right. We're coming in, all the paperwork has already been done, everything is ready, so that all we're doing is signatures. Gotcha. And I have everything already ready. The car is ready, detailed and ready. Most of the clients are not even, the NBA players are not driving the car away. We're shipping the car to wherever it's going. But they're just coming in to sign. I can have them in and out of the dealership in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Wow.
And that's with multiple cars. It could be multiple cars.
Wow. So this is my last question for you. We had this offhand. We talking about you had this abstract question about, when people get a lot of money, sometimes they don't know what to do with the money. So I'm gonna ask you, from your perspective, what are we supposed to be doing with money? Now, we always hear the cliche, like money is a tool and this and that. So from your perspective, I wanna ask you that. What are we as people supposed to be doing with money?
It depends on what your value system is. It depends on, obviously, you should be saving it. Obviously, you should have a good investment portfolio and to have that making your money work for you. If you're into real estate, and real estate is certainly good to be into, then you should have investments in real estate, into your own home, probably some rental property. These days, there are so much information out in social media about success and how to take your money and make your money work for you. In my parents' days, they only understood depositing your money into the bank and letting your money sit there. And my father, who was extremely successful during the civil rights era, had multiple businesses, restaurants and car washes and several funeral homes and all kinds of big apartment buildings, but he never had stock. He
Mm.
never had his money sat in the bank. He was a pastor, and so he traded his Cadillacs in every year. We had multiple Cadillacs and multiple different, because I came from a really big family, 18 kids. So there was always, he was always doing something, but he wasn't educated as we are today with how to invest your money and how to make your money work for you. My advice is to get yourself multiple sources, what I call your financial cabinet of professionals who are professionals in certain fields, and have yourself a credit person, have yourself a stock person, have yourself someone who is a real estate person who can advise you on investing and making the right decisions for the money and how you want to actually increase your wealth.
Yeah, just a quick question. How you doing, sir? Once again, thank you for your time. My name is Edward Randolph. I'm an attorney out of Tampa, Florida. Okay, if you have an old credit card that's still appearing on your credit, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to negotiate straight with that credit card company or whoever owns that debt. And say, for instance, the credit card you owe is like what, 6,000. You negotiate it to 4, and that other 2, you're gonna have to pay tax on it because they may give you a 1099 for it. Is it worth that debt off your credit?
Yeah, so I would advise against having a conversation directly with a creditor, because whenever you discuss anything with them, first you're going to be talking on a recorded line. And so their purpose of that recorded line is to be able to use that information against you in the case that you someday decide to dispute that account off. Let me give you this perspective with it. These days, any credit card that is being opened electronically, meaning that there's an electronic application. The law says that if a consumer is disputing an account, then the responsibility of the creditor is to produce all of the original documents and including the original signatures. If you don't have a, first, when you apply for, let's say if you apply for Bank of America online, there are no original documents for Bank of America online. If you apply for Bank of America online, there are no original signatures. It's an e-signature. So there are no original signatures that they can verify as being yours at the time that you open that account. So ultimately, there is no way for Bank of America or any other credit card company to verify an account that was opened electronically, unless you went into a Bank of America location and sat down with the loan officer and opened the account. They have no way of actually verifying whether that account belongs to you. And so the burden of proof is not on you, it is on the back of the creditor to be able to prove that that account actually belongs to you. I would say that that account could have been successfully disputed and removed off of your account, not because the creditor believes that you're not responsible for it, but because the creditor cannot prove that you are responsible for it.
Thank you. Yeah, that gave me a different perspective on this. Thank you.
And let me just say this for newlyweds. I think that in our race and period in general, credit scores and knowing what your credit score is and for a potential wife, if you got a fiance, both parties should know what those credit scores are. Almost like surely after asking her for her phone number, it should be asking her for her FICO credit score. Tragically, I see situations where married couples the husband can only put it in his name because her credit is so jacked up that she can't have it, and the home is only in his name because they can't put it in both. And all of this kind of stuff needs to be worked out beforehand, as churches do marriage counseling and all of that before the marriage. That those kind of financial questions and those kind of holding each other accountable financially should be done certainly with before you become newlyweds. When you're dating, all of that should be discussed. Not just discussed in general, but discuss and proven. Like on this date night, third date night, we bring in credit reports to the table. We going to this restaurant, but bring your credit report. You look at mine, I look at yours.
That's great information, man. I got 2 more questions for you. James Wesley Hunt,
Yes, sir.
are you enjoying yourself on Black Men Sundays, brother?
I am. I love when people ask me questions because they pull information out of you that you normally would not have said, and they'll pull different situations and answers out of you. So yeah, I love the questions.
How much would it cost me to get this advice that you've given us for the last hour?
So the advice is what we call a consultation. Consultation is basically free. So there is no cost for a consultation. So any of your listeners could just simply pull a copy of their credit report. They could go to any website, pull a copy of their credit report, text the username and password over to us, and then I will give a detailed answer to what their issues are. Because most people who you talk to about their credit, when you pull their credit report, you see far more than what was discussed. And so pull that credit report and let's deal with your real issues, and we'll see what you've got going on, and then clean those issues up and give them a good feel of what the time frame is on this, what your particular creditors have a history of doing when being disputed. Certain creditors will just simply not fight back. They will just simply let it come off. And you sort of like give them a good time frame of what it will look like, even what their scores will look like once all of the negative issues are removed off, and what they would be able to obtain once that's done.
Thanks for coming on Black Men Sundays, brother. Enjoy your week, man. I appreciate you, brother. Peace.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put on childish things.